Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are looking at the Draftkings and FanDuel Thursday Night Football picks for week number 5. We've got a matchup between the Colts and the Broncos, two teams that have been a bit disappointing so far to start the year, especially offensively, and it's not going to help the Colts that their best running back and their best player on the team, Jonathan Taylor, is not going to suit up for this game, so we're going to get a lot of things to talk about with that news. We got some news with Denver, with Javonte Williams suffering that brutal knee injury. He's going to be out for a long time. But let's go ahead and get started and talk about the Showdown slate. As always, if you enjoy the videos, please hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. I think it's important to look at the snap counts just so we can kind of see what to expect. The Colts, they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets last week because they're not getting much production from the wide receivers. Doolin, he played well in that when Pittman sat in week 2, but he's not a guy that's going to be reliable every week. They haven't gotten much out of Paris Campbell, and then Pierce's snap counts have been a little bit lower. He played, I think, under 40% last week. We'll take a look at that. But Mo Alley-Cox caught 2 touchdown passes last week. He played 70% of snaps. They also had Granson run some routes. He played 45%. He had like 4 grabs. Week 3, we saw Mo Alley-Cox still play about 60%. Granson's been the second guy behind him, but both guys will run some routes. In week 4, their wide receiver snap counts were distributed with Pittman played the most, as you'd expect. He played almost 90%. Campbell played 67, and then Doolin played 30. Pierce played 44. So besides Pittman, they kind of rotate for the second and third wide receivers. The running back was dominated by Jonathan Taylor. Now that he's out of the picture, you're going to see Hines play more. You'll probably play, I'd say 50%, maybe a little bit more than that, depending on who they call up from the practice squad. I expect it to be Philip Lindsay. That's what I've been hearing. That's what people are saying. If that is the case, he looks good on DFS because he's so cheap on both sites, especially DraftKings, where he's like $400, and he'll let you get up to some of the payups on the slate. There's a chance it could be Deion Jackson. So we'll see if Lindsay gets called up or not. But if he does get called up, I expect him to at least see some work, and at $400, it might be worth a shot because Hines isn't a guy that they like to give a ton of carries to. He's a change of pace back, get some, a couple handful of carries, but probably see more than that just without Jonathan Taylor, but he'll get more work in the passing down work and passing down situations. So on the Broncos side, looking at their snap counts, we know that Javonte Williams isn't out for a while, so you're going to see Melvin Gordon get a bulk of the carries, and then they got Latavius Murray, who played well last week in London, and we'll see how much, he's learning too often as quickly. He was with the Saints before. Probably not too much has changed, but I don't know if he'll get a ton of snaps in his first week, just being a short week against the Colts, but probably as the season goes on, you'll see Boone play some. You played a good amount of snaps last week. Gordon play, and then you'll see probably Latavius Murray mix in. Melvin Gordon has struggled with fumbles throughout his career, and he's already had some fumble issues this season. He's put the ball on the ground 4 times. He's already lost 2 fumbles in 4 games, so that's probably why he got benched last game. And then Boone, he's been around for a bit, but he didn't get much going. He got some snaps, but he didn't get that many touches, just 4 touches. His price tag has completely jumped up to 62, so I still think they'll go with Melvin Gordon to start. If he fumbles, then there's a risk that he'll get benched, but hopefully that doesn't happen. The matchup isn't great, but just with the not having Williams there, they're going to need somebody to step up. Wide receivers for them, it's going to be Sutton and Judy dominating, and then we saw Hinton play 57%, but he got sent down to the practice squad, so you'll probably see, and you'll see KJ Hamler fill in that role. So with Hinton gone, I think you can definitely make a case for Hamler on both sides. He's pretty affordable, 44. He's not super cheap, but he only got 4 snaps last week. You'll see a lot more with Hinton back on the practice squad. And then a big news for them was that they completely changed their tight end lineup. So Alberto was playing most of the snaps in week 1, and then he barely played at all last week. He played 1 snap. They went to Subert, who played 77%. Tomlinson played a bit. So that could be a value that we can look to if you're interested at $1,200. So there's a lot to talk about because both of these teams, they kind of a mix. Both teams play a couple different running backs. You have Broncos have a pretty core group of wide receivers, but the Colts mix in a lot. They have a bunch of tight ends that can get into the end zone. And we know tight ends love to dominate on showdowns. So there are a lot of ways to build a lineup. Looking at one approach is starting with like a Russell Wilson at captain. I do think the Broncos win this game. Colts banged up, short week, traveling into Denver. Wilson, we'll see. He has to get it going. He hasn't really done much in terms of getting his receivers involved. We've seen Sutton have some good games, but still, he should be having more than 4 touchdowns through 4 weeks. But Wilson at 15.6, if you're putting him at the captain spot. You have Sutton at 94, and then you have Jerry Jeudy at 78, so that's a pretty big price discrepancy. But we'll start with Melvin Gordon. Put in Hines, just get to both of those guys. If Lindsey does get called up, he'll be one of the best value picks at $400. He'll allow you to pay up for a couple of other guys. So in this situation, you could look to like Jerry Jeudy at 78, and then you'll be able to put in like Pittman. Want to do something like that? You miss out on Sutton, and you miss out on Matt Ryan, but you get to all the other guys that are worth paying up for. So that's one, and that's with Wilson at captain, so we can definitely go cheaper there. If we wanted to go all the way to the bottom and put in Lindsey at captain, now you can get to everybody. You can get to both quarterbacks, Wilson, Matt Ryan. You can get to Sutton here. You can get to even Pittman, and you can get to Melvin Gordon. This one you leave out Nyheim Hines, and you leave out Jerry Jeudy, but you get to all the pay-ups, and you have $600 left over as well. So that one you probably need Lindsey to get into the end zone to probably be the optimal captain at that price tag, or just get a lot of yards on the ground, maybe get some receptions. Another one, be looking at one of the wide receivers at captain to save some money, or going with the running back like Melvin Gordon at captain. I still like to get to Melvin Gordon and Hines just because they're probably going to be a lot more involved than they usually are, unless they get injured or if they put the ball on the ground. But those two I like, and then if I'm expecting Lindsey to get called up, I'll be looking to get to him at $400, just way too cheap. The kickers are in play. I like McManus more. He has a bigger leg. In terms of like these guys in the 4K range, don't have much interest in them. Mo Alley Cox does give you touchdown upside, but he could go down to like Granson. 2 weeks ago, you saw Jelani Woods have 2 touchdowns. Last week, we saw Mo Alley Cox have 2 touchdowns. This could be the Granson week if he has 2 touchdowns. And then down here, you have Salbert at $1,200 makes some sense if you wanted to go to him at that price tag. But I'll probably still look to get to Russell Wilson, even though he's been disappointing. Hopefully he has a good game soon. I like him better than Matt Ryan. We can put in Courtland Sutton, and we can put in Matt Ryan as well. So you get to both quarterbacks. You get to the best weapon for the Broncos in Sutton, and then you pair Matt Ryan with 2 running backs that he could have a touchdown pass to Nyheim Hines. You could see Lindsey get into the end zone as well, so that's another one that looks pretty good. And if I wanted to go to any of these guys down here, I would probably be Granson at 32 or like Saubert. But I like the running backs more. I like trying to get up to both quarterbacks, at least one quarterback in Russell Wilson. Pittman looks fine, but you probably get the matchup against Patrick Surtain, who's been awesome this year, so he doesn't have an easy one. And we could see a bit of a lower scoring game. So the kickers are in play, but they're not that cheap. So in terms of the core plays, maybe like Melvin Gordon at captain, or going with like Sutton at captain, or somebody that's a little bit cheaper would be a route to consider. I'm not completely sold if I'm going to put him at the captain spot or not, but I like him. I like Sutton more than Jeudy, just been more consistent. I still don't mind Jeudy based on the price tag, but getting to Russell Wilson, and right now I'll put in $400 Lindsey just to see if he gets called up or not. If not, then you can look to Deion Jackson or just go with Nyheim Hines. But that's what I got for DraftKings. Let's go ahead and take a look at FanDuel. All right, so on FanDuel, no surprise, Russell Wilson is your most expensive player. He's $16,500, $1,500 more than Matt Ryan, so there's a much bigger price discrepancy between those two than there is on DraftKings, where they're separated by $200. And then we see Pittman is cheap at $14. I still like Sutton at $13. Gordon is $12,500, like Sutton more than Gordon based on that price tag. Jeudy is $12K. I still like those top 2 guys a little bit better, or at least Sutton better. Hines $11. Deion Jackson a fade at that price tag. The defenses, rather go with the Broncos defense at $10 than go with the Colts at $95. Boone is pretty expensive at $9K. And then we have some values down here with Pierce at $75, with Hamler at $7, just because you expect him to get more work. And I guess you could even consider like Granson at 65, just based on the snap counts that he'll get. And then you even have like, see the price tag on Saubert if he's here. He's 5K, so he's completely bottom. But we'll start with like Wilson at captain, or maybe we can go with like Sutton at captain with Wilson here with the running back and Gordon. See if we put in Hines, we're left with 7,000. So here we can look to Campbell if you like to, take a shot or take a little bit of a risk with him. I'd probably go with, you don't mind. I think the Broncos will win this game. So if you want to completely full stack them, you can go with KJ Hamler. Expect him to get a lot more work just because with Hinton being sent down to the practice squad. Or you can go with Granson. He's been running some routes, and they should be running some 2 tight end sets again tomorrow night. Or even have Saubert all the way at the bottom there. But this lineup looks pretty good in my opinion. If you wanted to go with Matt Ryan instead of Wilson, save that $1,500. You'll have 2K left over. And in that situation, your best bet would be going from like maybe Hines to Jerry Jeudy, or going from Granson to like Mo Alley Cox, or going to one of the kickers. But personally, I still think Wilson will be able to outscore Matt Ryan. It's just a tough spot for some of these Colts guys, especially not having Taylor. They'll be able to focus, the Broncos will be able to focus on stopping some of these weapons. And they don't have much weapons besides Michael Pittman at this point. But in terms of core plays, it'll probably be these 3 I'm trying to get started with on FanDuel. The Colts I'd mix in would be like Lindsey, possibly if he gets called up. But do like to maybe taking a shot on Hamler or Campbell at the bottom, or even taking a shot on Granson. Defenses and kickers, like I mentioned, the Broncos defense like McManus more than McLaughlin. And Sutton, my favorite wide receiver on both sides. So that's it. Not the most exciting showdown. We could see a lower scoring game, but hopefully we're able to see some money and get a win. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below. Best of luck. Stay tuned for more videos, and I will see you all next time.